Hey folks, and welcome to the Untethered Volume 5.2 Virtual Launch Party. My name is Stephanie McKechnie. I am the co-creator and editor of Untethered, and I will also be your host this evening. We have an amazing lineup of readers for you tonight, but just before we get started, there's a few things I wanted to tell you about. First off, just look at these books! Aren't they beautiful? If you don't already have your copy, you can grab yours by clicking the link in the video description, either below or above, depending on the platform you're on, and going on over to our website's Virtual Launch Hub, where the new issue is on sale for our special launch price of only $12. After the launch ends, you will still be able to get them on our website, but they will be regular price at $15 plus shipping. So I highly recommend you take advantage of the deal and grab yours today. As always, we have some incredible raffle prizes for you to win from some of your favorite literary journals, including subscriptions to Room Magazine, The Fiddlehead, Prairie Fire, Shameless Mag, CV2, Tattle Creek, Arc Poetry, a back issue prize pack from us here at Untethered. We also have a $50 gift certificate from Come As You Are, Canada's ethical, feminist, and cooperatively run sex shop, because we're all spending a little bit more time with ourselves these days. So head on over to the Virtual Launch Hub and grab your tickets. You can get one ticket for $2, 3 tickets for $5, or my very long arm's length worth of tickets for just $10. And folks, my arms are very long. That's 15 tickets for just $10. It's definitely the best deal. So because this is a virtual launch, we'll also be pulling our raffle tickets virtually. So you can join us tomorrow, February 4th at 2 p.m. on Instagram. I'll be pulling them via video. And if you're like, oh my God, I don't have Instagram, don't worry. Still grab your tickets. I will be emailing all the winners to let them know that they've won and so that they can claim their prizes. Now, I do want to let you know that all of our available back issues are also on sale on the Virtual Launch Hub for only $8. So if you have any missing in your Untethered collection, hop on over there and grab your copies. As some of you may know, Untethered is a completely unfunded journal, so we've really only been able to exist these past 6 years because of the incredible support we receive from folks like you. All proceeds made on our website go right back into Untethered, so you can be happy knowing that the money you spend today will be going towards printing our future issues and paying our contributors more competitive honorariums. So I think that was everything that I wanted to tell you folks before we got started, so enough of me, let's get on to the readings. Alright folks, well first up on our virtual stage tonight is Bashar Lulu Jabbour. Bashar is an immigrant poet. He uses the mundane to give a glimpse of the complexities of leaving one home for another. Bashar is a storyteller, and his stories are deeply personal. His poetry has been featured at many festivals in Canada, including Canadian Festival of Spoken Word, Naked Heart, Latitude Storytelling Festival, and Word on the Street. He was also an opening act for Carlos Andres Gomez. He is the artistic director of the Kitchener-Waterloo Poetry Slam and lead poetry editor at Textile Magazine. Please join me in giving a warm welcome to Bashar.
Hi everyone, my name is Bashar Lulu Jabbour. I'm a poet based in Kitchener-Waterloo, the traditional lands of the Haudenosaunee, Anishinaabe, and Nujara peoples. I'm going to be reading the poem on First Look from the latest edition of Untethered magazine. On first look, it may appear that the best seat in class is face to face with the sobia. Let me explain. A sobia is this fire stove that we use with a fuel called mazot to heat up rooms and houses and classes in Syria. So on first look, it may appear that the best seat in class is face to face with the sobia. It is not. The fire will gnaw at your face, and later your mother will put half a bottle of Vaseline on your dry hands. The best seat in class is the third seat back. The fire will keep you warm, but will not crack your skin to look like the Valley of Barada. You will not sweat through the layers. And the days when the mazot does not come, you will be cold anyway. So you might as well be cold in the third seat back. We wore layers like we knew the mazot was never gonna come. I wore 3 shirts, a pair of underpants that made my thighs itch, and 2 pairs of socks. On the coldest days, my mother and I argued about a third pair. I am now old enough to admit that she was right. Back then, we all coped with the cold differently. Khalid never took his jacket off. He leaned back against the peeling paint and etched Eminem lyrics onto his desk. Shada wore gloves as she took math notes and wore black turtlenecks. And I sat in the third seat back. In grade 11, I exchanged the best seat in class for a one-way ticket to Canada. We rented a small apartment and bought a 1992 red Corolla. In the back seat of that car, in the heat of a Canadian summer, my first girlfriend sits in my lap, hurriedly untucks the layers, pauses, runs her hands through my chest hair, and asks, "Why do you wear so many layers?" "Habit," I say. Thank you.
Thanks so much for that, Bashar. Up next is Ellen Chang-Richarson. Ellen is an award-winning poet, writer, and editor of Taiwanese and Cambodian Chinese descent. The author of 2 poetry chapbooks, Unlucky Force from Anne Strothers Press and Assimilation Tactics, forthcoming from Coven Editions. Ellen's work has appeared in many publications, including Long Con Magazine, Anti-Heroin Chic, The Puritan's Town Crier, and Vallum. She currently lives and works in Ottawa, Ontario, on the traditional unceded territories of the Algonquin Anishinaabe First Nation. You can find out more about Ellen at ehjchang.com. Please welcome Ellen.
Hi everyone, my name is Ellen Chang-Richarson, and I am very excited to be reading here as part of the launch of Untethered. I'll be reading you 4 poems this evening, the first of which appears in this issue. This is Sweet Green Thing. Mango meat, juicy, sweet. Your nectar drips over my chin. You remind me of Amma's home. Cold blasts, regurgitated air, car honks, bicycle trills, that hot, humid thrill. You remind me. Deep and yellow, the tang of you hits, and I am transported to 18 years ago. Now green, crisp, and mellow, monarch, you are coolness and warmth. My instinct is to slide you across my tongue, catch you between canines, so that I may hold on to you like strands long forgotten. The next poem I'm going to read for you this evening recently appeared in Watch Your Head. Writers and artists respond to the climate crisis. This anthology, recently published by Coach House Books, is incredibly important, and so I encourage you to pick up a copy, as all proceeds are being donated to Ravens Trust and Climate Justice TO. This is Meltwater Basin. Have you ever had those dreams? You know, those carbon dark sorts of dreams, where monsters and men made of the same fabric move in and out of each other, amorphic? I've had those sorts of dreams, those lamp-black sorts of dreams. In each one, there you are, on horseback, bareback from the waist up. In each one, there you are, astride your shadow steed like a legion of Kazakh kings. Damn them, these dreams, these gut-wrenching, teeth-clenching, sweaty sorts of dreams that melt into each other, profuse and confused, soporific in nature. It's funny, these sorts of dreams, these burnt sienna, lamp flare, cotton-filled dreams. They remind me of a time long past when my seas and your shores met like towers in rain. They remind me of leafy green, high golden mushroom haze, where my lips and your limbs met, wrapped in polyurethane. The third poem I'm going to read for you tonight, or this day, evening, wherever we are, is part of a collaborative series with Toronto-based illustrator Netta Omidvar. We give each other a prompt. She draws an illustration without seeing my poem, and I write a poem without seeing her illustration. This is Pulled Pork. Pulled pork. Stew simmers. Thoughts slip from my mind like meat off bone. Deep, diving off bay leaf into red, dish, brown. And the final poem I'm going to read for you tonight is called Bluff City Blues. This poem is forthcoming in my second chapbook called Assimilation Tactics, which is coming out soon with Coven Editions. Bluff City Blues. Pigeons take to air like locusts carving razor edges into slate gray. Wires dictate cities of frozen blades and molecules of smog, smoke, and CO2 broken by atoms approaching. Thank you.
Thanks so much for that, Ellen. Up next, we have Hilary Ball. Hilary Ball's writing has been published in Prism International and has been shortlisted for the Puritans Thomas Morton Memorial Prize. She grew up in Fredericton, holds an MA in English Literature from UBC, and currently lives in Montreal. Please welcome Hilary.
Hi, my name is Hilary Ball. The story I'm going to be reading from today is called The Intruder, and I wrote it in May of 2020 in Montreal during the first wave of the coronavirus pandemic. I can hear Esme talking to my cat in the kitchen. "Hi, sweetheart," she's saying. "Are you having an exhausting day?" "I know. Life is so difficult." "I know." Esme speaks to the cat the way she speaks on the phone, in a higher, softer register than she uses with me. It's past noon and I'm only half awake. Last night I tumbled down a YouTube rabbit hole, mostly clips of late-night hosts performing their usual segments from home, the absence of live laughter giving their jokes an eerily unfinished quality. I keep my bedroom door ajar so the cat can come and go as she pleases, and somehow it's gotten pushed all the way open, exposing my hoard of dirty laundry and dirty dishes to the narrow hallway that runs the length of the apartment. But Esme will not have glanced in at me all morning, even if she's been awake for hours, padding up and down the slanted hardwood in her bare feet. And anyway, what does it matter if she thinks I'm a slob inside my own room? The cat has joined me now. She's purring passive-aggressively at the foot of the bed. "Okay, Panda Bear," I say, kicking back the covers. "Okay, my little panini." The cat's name is Pandora because I found her in a box. This was last fall when I first moved to Montreal and was staying at Caro's apartment in Hochelaga while her usual roommate was on a semester abroad. The box had previously contained the components of a complicated dresser I'd ordered from IKEA. It was a warm September evening, and Caro was frying salmon in the kitchen, and the cat must have been drawn to the smell and crawled through one of our ground floor windows, most of which didn't have screens. This is what must have happened, Caro and I agreed at the time. But since neither of us actually saw her come in, Pandora's appearance in the IKEA box felt a bit otherworldly, as if she were a welcoming gift from the city. "Little freeloader," I say as I fill her dish, which I keep beside the IKEA dresser. In the end, it never came together quite right. The drawers are always sliding off their runners, and one of them makes a terrible scraping noise. Pandora eats too quickly, as usual, and pukes on the sleeve of a sweater hanging from the bottom drawer. "You're right," I tell her. "It needed a wash." I sit on the floor with my back against the bed, and she steps onto my lap. Her belly is rounder than last summer, her fur softer and shinier, but she's retained her oddly kitten-like stature. The vet explained that she was probably close to 7 years old when I found her, that her growth had been stunted by a congenital disorder. This was also the reason for her peculiar gait, the way she swings her hips when she walks, almost seductively, Caro used to joke, like a femme fatale in a slinky black dress, an asymmetrical white mask on her face. Esme passes us with a plate of food in her hands, and Pandora chirps at her, gently freeing herself from my arms. "Hi there, cutie pie," I hear Esme saying at the end of the hall. "Did you have a delicious meal?" Her bedroom door opens and closes, and I wonder how much my cat knows about my roommate's private life that I don't. Esme's on the phone again now, her bright girlish voice muffled yet audible, although the content of her conversation is not. What's she up to in there? I sometimes ask Pandora if she's in one of her rare snuggly moods. But if the cat is a spy, it's unclear who she's reporting to. I scoop the vomit off my sweater with a Kleenex and push my door almost closed, positioning a boot nearby to keep it from swinging all the way open again when Pandora returns.
Thanks so much, Hilary. And folks, trust me, you're going to want to finish that story. All right, up next we have Vannessa Barnier. Vannessa Barnier is an instigator, community organizer, book publicist, workshop facilitator, and the host of Legible Intelligibles. Not only a hard thing to say, but it's also a summer open mic poetry reading series in the park. Vannessa lives, laughs, and isolates in Toronto. Please welcome Vannessa Barnier.
Hello, my name is Vannessa Barnier, and I'm going to be reading Therapist Ring, which appears in this issue of Untethered magazine. I'm thrilled to be part of this launch. Thank you all for coming, and for everyone who worked on the magazine, and for all my fellow contributors. So, here we go. Therapist Earring. I am sitting in a green chair. It's sometimes a little warm after the last person. This time it is too. I am sitting in front of Karen who's gesticulating. Her hands are flailing. I am watching from the green chair. Karen is talking and her hands are flailing. She gets a haircut between every session. I can tell she does. Karen, I watch from the green chair. Karen is talking, and that's the primary function of our meeting. She is talking and moving her hands and waving her head, and her gold-hooped earrings are rattling, and I am too. She is talking, and her finger gets caught because she is gesticulating. She really sense it. Karen sense it. I watch the hoop fly across the air and onto the floor. She gets half up. Karen gets half up and then half down and onto the ground. I am sitting in the green chair watching Karen on her hands and knees. She crawls. Karen crawls on the floor. I am paying hundreds of dollars to work on power dynamics, and Karen gets on the floor. She goes down on the floor on her hands and knees and crawls to her earring. Not that far, but I am in the chair looking at her, looking down at Karen on the floor from the chair. I am sitting in the green chair, and it's hot now for my own ass, hotter by the second. I'm watching Karen, and I'm heating up. She's on the floor on her hands and knees. Karen crawling. It happens fast enough I can't imagine how she'll get back up and onto her chair. She does it before I can imagine it, and it's horrific, truly humiliating. She backs up with her palms down and crawls back into a half sit that she pivots back into the chair, crouched still the whole time. This is the first half of our session. Happy to pay hundreds for this hour. Glad Karen got her earring, though.
Thanks so much for that, Vannessa. And folks, that poem reads just as chaotic on the page. Up next, we have Megan Cole. Megan Cole is a tattooed food enthusiast with an obsessive reading habit. Megan has been published in The Puritan, Invisibog, Kootenai Mountain Culture, The Growler, and more. She's currently working on her first book, Crazy Making, Surviving the Shipwreck of Male Mental Health. When Megan isn't writing, reading, or cooking, she's working as the Director of Audience Development for the BC and Yukon Book Prizes and recording interviews for the podcast Writing the Coast. Please welcome Megan Cole.
Hi, I'm Megan Cole, and I'll be reading from my essay, Symbiosis. 12. The thick straps of my backpack dig into my narrow shoulders. The heels of my feet are tucked up to my thighs. We rest. Bags of gorp, trail mix are passed around. We try not to mind the bag for the smarties. We sit on the damp ground, pillows of moss underneath us, and I sip from a bottle that's held water on many trips. It tastes like the thickly wooded trails of Strathcona Park, like the rock slopes of Eastwood Park, like the Todd Inlet. I dip my hand into the bag and lean onto my pack. It falls backwards, and so do I. My hands flail and my feet kick frantically. I've fallen and I can't get up, I say. I look up at the canopy of Carmana Valley's old growth. The laughter bubbles and I see my dad in my peripheral vision. His hands take hold of mine. I plant my feet onto the ground and he pulls me upright. He walked in front, and I trailed behind. Both our hands clasped behind our backs. When you were my daughter, those were the happiest days of my life. I wish you would come home. Emperor penguins squawk on screen. The voice of a male narrator drives home their unique family life and mating rituals, anthropomorphizing their behavior based on outdated Leave It to Beaver model. Fathers play a big role in the incubation and lives of their chicks. For humans, where the burden of bearing and raising children is predominantly placed on the mother, the emperor penguin is a case study of reverse gender roles. Male penguins hold the egg in their brood pouch. Female marsupials like koalas, kangaroos, wombats, and possums, as well as seahorses, echidna, sea otters, and chipmunks also have this unique cavity where eggs or embryos go for part of their development. But only male seahorses and emperor penguins have the special pouches. The male penguins cluster together, egg or chick, tucked under layers of fat and feathers, while the mother plunges into the water surrounding Antarctica to bring food back for her family. Once their young are strong enough, the parents will share parental responsibilities. The household chores are divided based on survival and instincts rather than gender. 8. I drop a fractured bit of pottery into an old co-op grocery store bag. My bag hangs heavier than my sister's, a sign that I've found more artifacts than her. A jagged corner of treasure pokes out among the bits of pinecone, stones, and bark. My sister's pink fingers disappear into the slope that descends to the burbling Todd Creek below. Between thumb and pointer finger, she pries a faded wedge of plate or bowl and raises it to the sky. "Look at this one," she shouts. "A T-Rex tooth," I say. Salal brushes our calves. In the spring and summer, we pluck ripe huckle, thimble, and salmon berries here. Today, the three of us crowd around an unknown plume of leaves and stems. "It's Oregon grape," I say. "No, it's Salal," my sister says. My dad removes his day pack, one strap at a time, then hangs it from one arm and pulls out his copy of Plants of the Pacific Northwest Coast, Washington, Oregon, British Columbia, and Alaska. He flips to Oregon grape. He reads the description aloud. The shape of the leaves, the height of the bush, the color of the berries, the environment around it. Then the same for Salal. He leaves it to us to decide. 3. My hand extends up, fingers spread wide like the maple leaves hanging from the branches overhead. Sitting on top of my dad's shoulders, I feel like I'm one of the trees. This would be our place. Did I know that then? Just a toddler, words bubbling at the tip of my tongue. The breath of the forest in the wisps of my soft brown hair. Bird song and the thudding of footsteps create the soundtrack. My tiny voice narrates. "Dad, I want to touch," I call out from my perch. Without seeing the direction my fingers are pointed, he moves towards a tall Douglas tree. He moves towards a tall Douglas fir, wearing a coat of green. It's already become my ritual. I plunge my fingertips into the moss, then lean my whole head against it like I'm hugging a dog, nuzzling my cheek, nose, and chin into the soft forest fur. The morning dew yet to be absorbed covers my face. I can hear the heartbeat. Thank you.
Thanks so much for that, Megan. Up next, we have Katherine FitzHywel. Katherine has completed a BA Honours in Creative Writing at RMIT and is currently undertaking a PhD in Creative Writing at the University of Melbourne. She is studying the representation of animals through the language used in contemporary poetry. She also likes potatoes and soup. You'll see why she says that in a second. She lives in Melbourne and has performed her poetry for Miss Millie's Pop-Up Poetry Cafe at Afro Hub and Next Level Studios. Please welcome Katherine FitzHywel.
Hi, I'm Katherine FitzHywel. Greetings from Melbourne. Greetings from my little friend Kroshka. She's a sweetie. I'm really excited to be included in this issue of Untethered. It's an excellent issue, and I hope that you enjoy it. I'm going to read a couple of my poems. They're food-based poems, and that's why I'm wearing my food-based t-shirt that a friend made. And they're just a bit frivolous, so I hope that you have fun with them and enjoy them. They're called Potato and Soup. Potato. When you ask me about truth, I prevaricate, but I'm just waiting for the potato in the microwave. If I had an analyst, he would say, "What did you think of that? Withholding?" But Freud does not talk about potatoes, does he? I am disappointed about nothing, really. How can I be annoyed that something I didn't ask for didn't eventuate? There is nothing more important to me than hunting a lost cat on the sidewalk. Is it a sidewalk or a footpath? Why did I say that? I guess I'm just conforming, melding to form. What is expected now? That I make a protest, or some claim to prior knowledge? Insert quote here. Perhaps it's just that a potato is waiting. Sirens. Wait a second. This is how exciting these poems are. There are sirens. Soup. I gave him soup. I was going to have a potato. I didn't need all that with toast. Do we need to be the same? Then I thought, life is not only potatoes, and sometimes it's okay to do whatever everyone else is doing, because you want that too. Actually, I didn't explain. The potato was already cooking in the microwave, little fork holes hissing. But I decided, flippantly, to put it half-cooked in the fridge and make soup instead. I sort of want to say that the potato didn't deserve this, that I didn't enjoy the soup after all, but it was good. Lentil and coconut, if you're wondering. Well, those are my poems, and I hope that you enjoyed them. I'd like to dedicate them to my friend Anya Volvich and say goodbye to her as I say goodbye to you. I think she would have enjoyed them, and I hope that you do too. Goodbye from Crush, and goodbye from me. I hope that we meet in the real world someday, and I hope that you enjoy this issue of Untethered. Cheerio. Ciao.
Thanks so much for that, Katherine. Up next, we have Margo LaPierre. Margo is a queer, bipolar Canadian poet and editor. Her debut collection, Washing Off the Raccoon Eyes, was published by Guernica Editions in 2017. She is newsletter editor of ARC Poetry magazine, membership chair of the Editors Canada Ottawa-Gatineau branch, member of Poetry Collective 7, and poetry selector for bywords.ca. She is completing an MFA in creative writing at the University of British Columbia. Her work has been published or is forthcoming in the Thames Review, Room Magazine, Filling Station, Carousel, Prism International, Train Journal, and others. She lives in Ottawa, and you can find her at Margo LaPierre. Please welcome Margo.
Hi, my name is Margo LaPierre. Thank you, Untethered, for hosting us here tonight. And I would like to thank you, Untethered, as well, for publishing my poem Crayfish in this issue. Crayfish. Does the river have a tide? Reaching out to gray roots, lapping roots licked black. A rude crayfish skirts over my toes, and I reach down into silt and water, pinch its neck in thumb and forefinger, and in my thoughts, clutch you. Most delicate and pedestrian of decapods, struggling. My pulse glides to the gurgle of your goose flesh and wet eyelashes. You don't answer. You are crouched over algae sticky as vertigo, oblivious to what may be done to you, claws and craws. My solar plexus stretches outward. My body is near annihilated in its reaching. Your back is to me, and you don't see me reaching. What crevice has caught your eye? What rippling darkness? Carp wide as the river turn under the surface. The wet glass above their deep-end layer disturbed with hidden indecision and dorsals. The crayfish flicks about in my stiff grasp. You don't look up. You point to me. You flick your wrist. Come here. My second poem, Domestic Disordered, was published by Nonplus Lit this year. Into the coffee table's glossy surface, I scratch a vicious gasp. I lay myself down to cry on the hard plains of the house. Yesterday, you broke tufts of indica and left them there like last week. In this photo, I have a broom in my hand. In this photo, I don't. In this photo, I can't tell time. Did you out me and discuss my daily failures? I forget how to brush my hair. I forget how to wash. Unlearning your likes wasn't my intent, but it was easier than tending the orchid whose blooms dropped. I no longer see the O, the dimple in your cheek. The cat came back, punctured and ticked. Yesterday, you left me here, last week. Thank you. For upcoming projects, I do have a chapbook, a collaborative chapbook, Towers, out with Collusion Books next summer, and that is with my collaborative poetry group 7. We are Ellen Chang-Richarson, Helen Robertson, Nina Jane Dristek, Manalha Bandakwala, Chris Johnson, Conyer Clayton, and myself. And that's Towers next spring. Thank you, Collusion Books, and thank you, Untethered. Have a great night.
Thanks so much for that, Margo. All right, folks, so we're going to do something perhaps a little unconventional, but since this is a live event, we're going to take a short 2-minute break. So you can do what you need to do. Go to the bathroom, grab a drink, maybe head on over to our virtual launch hub and grab your issues and your raffle tickets. Again, issues are on sale for only $12 until the end of today. Raffle tickets, you can get 1 ticket for $2, 3 tickets for $5, or my very long arm's length worth of tickets for $10. That's 15 tickets for $10. Definitely the best deal. All right, so you can go and do all of that, and we'll see you back here in 2 minutes. All right, folks, well, welcome back from the break. First up is Elizabeth Vondrak. Elizabeth holds an MA in English Literature from Boston College and an MFA in Creative Writing from Florida International University. Her work has appeared in the NCM Review, Transitions Abroad, Tiger Tale, a South Florida Poetry Annual, and is forthcoming from the Sandy River Review and Watershed Review. In her past life, she was a teacher to English language learners, high school literature students, and university writing students. Originally from Iowa, she resides in Boston with her husband and 3 children. Please welcome Elizabeth Vondrak.
Hello everyone, it's a pleasure to be here with you. I will be reading from my short story, Real Colors. But before we drop into the middle of the story, let me provide a little context. The main character and narrator is a white mother of biracial twins, a boy and a girl. The twins have just started kindergarten, and the mother is rather upset because the teacher has been writing notes next to her son's work telling him to use real colors. So for example, when the little boy Timmy draws a self-portrait using blue and purple crayons, Miss Smith writes next to it, use real colors, you are brown. So the mother writes replies to the teacher's notes arguing for self-expression. A fun little fact, when my son was in kindergarten, he received very similar notes from his teacher. But unlike the narrator, I never wrote replies. I just spent a lot of time fantasizing about it. And thus we get our story here. Does Miss Smith ever smile? I asked Timmy one evening over his homework. Sure, he said. Sometimes. From the crayons scattered on the kitchen table, he grabbed the one closest to him. He colored the zebra, even the black stripes, until the animal looked like a blob of cotton candy. Timmy's eyes searched the tabletop for several seconds until he found the next crayon he wanted. Why are you using yellow? I asked as he filled in the face of a woman wearing a crown. White doesn't show up, so I use yellow. How do you know the queen is white? I don't know. She just is. A woman of authority and power was automatically deemed white, just like Miss Smith. Should I be worried? Should I be more worried? When we were deciding on a school, I'd wanted one with students and teachers who looked like the twins, which meant public school. But no. My Nigerian husband and his parents, who said they'd pay for it, insisted that the children get the best education. Diversity, that American obsession, be damned. It was the same thinking that had landed us in one of the whitest neighborhoods in Boston. That July, I'd been too pregnant and too relieved to be moving out of a tiny apartment and into a 2-story house with central air to argue. Now, more than ever, I worried I'd failed my children. I'd allowed them to go to a school that not only had no role models of color, but that also employed a teacher who ruled over the students' self-expression like a Soviet apparat. 2 days later, the worksheet returned home with a big red C, which we'd since learned meant correct. And yet, there was a note next to the pink zebra. Please use real colors. Again, with the real colors. Why no note next to the jaundiced queen? Was yellow the new white? I was having a difficult time keeping up with the rules of kindergarten. I knew I'd have to reply. Despite that my replies didn't get replies, and my subtler forms of communication were ignored as well. You see, since writing the first note, I'd purchased Eric Carle's The Artist Who Painted a Blue Horse. Every night for a whole week, I read to the twins from that book, and it was recorded on their reading logs. On Timmy's log, I'd even added a little comment. The twins love this book. I highly recommend you get it for your class. I'd be happy to donate a copy. I hoped that Miss Smith would recognize my olive branch and reply accordingly. But no, only a big red C returned on the reading log. So I composed another note. Dear Miss Smith, I don't know if you've had a chance to read The Artist Who Painted a Blue Horse, but I think you'll be interested to learn that the Nazi regime would not allow the work of the aforementioned artist, Franz Marc, to be shown. Hitler only believed in realist work and deemed the abstract expressionists degenerate artists. I'm sure you would not deem my sweet Timmy or his pink zebra as degenerate. As for Hitler and the Nazis, well, we all know how that turned out. Humbly yours, Natalie Muir Adebanjo. This time, when I sent the note off with Timmy in his folder, I felt a bit nervous. I didn't tell my husband about it. Actually, I hadn't told him about any of my correspondence with Miss Smith. Ollie comes from a typical Nigerian family in which you do as you're told and no one gives a fig about your feelings or self-esteem. Those mushy American conceits. You work hard, you aim to be the best, absolutely no trophies for everyone. Notes about color choice were nothing compared to the canings Ollie had received in school. When I showed him Miss Smith's first note, he'd shaken his head and said, "Time for Ola Timmy to get used to the real world." He chuckled at his pun, and then Ollie, the only non-white employee at MacArthur, Lebanon Low, turned to his laptop and resumed the firm's mandated online cultural diversity sensitivity training. Yes, he most definitely would have been on Miss Smith's side. Thank you all so much, and especially a big thank you to the editors of Untethered for allowing me to be in the issue and to be a part of this launch. You can find me at elizabethvondrak.com. Thanks, and take care.
Thank you so much for that, Elizabeth. And folks, you're really going to want to finish that story. The ending is just so satisfying. All right, up next we have Deirdre Maultsaid. Deirdre has been published in Kenthouse, CB2, Filling Station, Grain, Prairie Fire, The Puritan, Whitewall Review, and many others. Deirdre Maultsaid is a queer white writer living in Vancouver, Canada, on the unceded territory of the Coast Salish people. You can find more information at deirdremaultsaid.com or at Deirdre Maultsaid. Please welcome Deirdre.
Hi everyone, I'm Deirdre Maultsaid, a queer writer living on the unceded territory of the Coast Salish peoples. Thanks to Stephanie McKechnie and the whole Untethered team for this edition, and congratulations to all contributors. I'm going to read my poem Double Cross. I trudged through the hospital and out the bellowing emergency doors, and then I fell into the cold, hoar-frosted, numbing late city night and left my mother where she was not yet sleeping in the hollow clanging under the blocks of icy light, still gritting her teeth, so puzzled by her body and the sheets too yellowed and worn to be a shelter and the bed too small to hold stories. And she was finding out the true tale. She was on the mountain pass, scaling heights, tumbling down the scree. But her body, what a red place, what a ropey red terrain, unmapped, unknown, torturing her with long, bog-smoldering fires of dark orange veins that ignite in the gullies and run up the slopes. And she was still learning her dark worry and her blossoming agony and the ropes of her belay and her fiery girdle not yet her tango, nor the swinging out and the swinging back, nor the balm of muscles yet a bridge, or a bridge for a bridge. In a dark worry over frosted grass, I clumped and I was dizzy, or I was soul frozen, or I was nothing, or I was yet at the nadir, and I suddenly passed an old chestnut, and the branches were pennants against the splotchy cloudy sky, and the trunk was damp, but there leaning on the tree was a bicycle, and strung on the bicycle were bright white lights, and they were promising, and the spokes were floating in the dark, and are proceeding like gifts, and I moved aside from myself, and I felt the tilt of doubleness, or the double cross of the knobs of arms and legs and the deceitful knots of mountaineering ropes. Not the solid knot, nor the double knot, nor the harness, nor the signals to protect. And there before me the wheels were aglow, an antecedent to trouble against the dark, the handlebars proud, sire to light and mother to gems, and ready for the zenith, and the bicycle glowed, and I glowed, and so we glowed, like small luminous moons of peace. Thank you. I'm going to read Wreck Everything, which was recently published in Riddle Fence, an Atlantic literary journal, worth reading and investigating. Wreck Everything. The cat scrabbled on the shelf, gave one choked howl, and landed upright on the couch back. I watched the cat. The cat watched my mother. The round black vase tipped, it toppled, it fell. Shards clattered and rocked. The surface of Oaxaca clay, burnished with the back of a silver spoon, had shone. Like jet, like sky. With 3 splayed legs and a lattice of cut-out triangles at its lip, it was heavy, present, ours. My mother turned off the stove with a quick click. The pan clanged. She threw potato wedges to the floor and jumped on them, splattering her Cuban heels. Let's wreck everything, everything. How do you like them apples? She slapped me. My brother says she didn't. I dragged up the needle from my sweet-voiced Jackson 545 of Ben. She slapped down a mariachi record, the peal of silver trumpets moving her forward. Taller, she turned to my brother, now sweeping and sniffling. Stop it right now. My brother says she didn't. She lunged and grabbed by two black paws the cat still slinking nearby. She held it out like a gift. It stiffened. My mother shouted at me, "Open the damn door!" With a righteous she hurled the cat out into the yard. It twisted, it gyrated in midair, but landed in the hedge. The sprinkler hissed on the hot grass. Thank you.
Thanks so much for that, Deirdre. All right, folks, up next we have Gillian Turnbull. Gillian holds a PhD in ethnomusicology and is the author of Sonic Booms, Making Music in an Oil Town. She holds an MFA in creative nonfiction from the University of King's College, where she now teaches as a mentor in the program. She has written for The Walrus, The National Post, The Conversation, Hazlitt, No Depression, Penguin Eggs, and the Grove Dictionary of American Music. She teaches music at Ryerson University, co-founded the Wide Cut Weekend Roots Festival in Calgary, and has hosted radio shows in Edmonton and Toronto. Please welcome Gillian.
Hi, everyone. I'm happy to be joining you for this launch, and I'm very excited to read everyone's pieces in the issue. It's looking great. I want to especially say thanks to Stephanie and Nicole for putting it together under these particularly difficult conditions. I'm really excited about it. So my name is Gillian Turnbull. I'm going to read my nonfiction piece from the issue called Dark Web. It's about living in the city as an artist. Okay, let's take bets. Pete snaps off a piece of our shared cookie, goes around the table as he chews. Jake? 1,300. No, 1,500. 1,550. Final guess. I make a note in my phone. Jake, 1,550. Jessie? Aw, man, I don't know. Jessie looks annoyed at the interruption. Noelle? What? She asks. She's folded her arms around her Goliath of a purse, leans on the table, pokes at the peppermint tea bag lingering in her cup. We're taking bets on how much Gillian's apartment is going to be listed for. What does the winner get? Jake asks. Pete considers the case of future bakery pie slices. Our chairs skirt out from the tabletop, spidery legs brushing against dessert worshippers. Hairs touching, exploring, finding collective desperation. A whiskey. Winner gets a shot of whiskey. Jake is triumphant. Okay, shot of whiskey it is. Is this Price is Right style guessing? Jake has too many questions. Just the person closest to the amount is the winner, I say. Noelle? 1,500. I tap in her entry. I'm currently paying $1,050 for the one-bedroom, third-floor apartment in the Junction that I'm moving out of. Pete? I'm going to go with 1,400. He takes a sip of my tea. My guess is 1,700. I type out Gillian, 1,700. Everyone at the table groans. No, that is dark, says Pete. You really think 1,700? Yep, I do. My landlord's upped the rent for the apartment the floor below mine to 2,400 from 1,900 just this past summer. We drain our cups, get up to go over to the Transac. Part 1. Cephalothorax. Legs. As far as inputs go, spiders have many. The cephalothorax portion of the body, the main hub of spider activity, contains their legs, eyes, mouth, stomach, and brain. The average arachnophobe's nightmare focuses on the legs, all 8 of them, scrambling the hairy body to its prey 4 times faster than any 2-legged attempt at a getaway. But the legs, with their 6 knees each, the hair, and the claws at the end, are less about the chase and more about the collection of information. Legs equal input source. Unpacking and packing at the same time is a mindfuck. I make piles of clean underwear, unpack my bathroom box of toiletries, throw travel shampoo and face wash into my suitcase. Where is my bag of wool sweaters? Although it's 35 degrees Celsius in Toronto, I'm going to Calgary, where it's snowing. Sweat droplets fall off my face and burst open on the UP Airport Express train platform. I hope I unplugged the kettle. I settle into the plane seat, snooze for a few minutes, absorb the encroaching dryness that makes my knees and ankles ache. We land. I'm up and running again, By the end of this week, I'll have slept in 4 places. I spent nearly $3,000 on my move just to be in secure housing. My rent has dipped down by $125, and I'm in a co-op. Safety. I have squished all my legs out of my old exoskeleton. My partner thinks you wake up in the morning thinking about whatever is on your mind the most. So for him, that means he pokes me awake with ideas like, maybe we should move the midterm to week 6, or do you think all the tests should be written on laptops? Whereas right now I'm waking up thinking, I wonder if the air conditioner will fit on that shelf in the first closet, or where is that box of lecture materials for next week? Where is my festival pass? The lockbox key. I arrive at the music festival I co-run in Calgary, here just for this long weekend, scoop my lanyard over my neck, hand Peggy the lockbox key I absconded with last year. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Gillian. Up next, we have Khashayar Mohammadi. Khashayar is a queer Iranian-born Toronto-based poet, writer, translator, and photographer. He is the author of 3 poetry chapbooks, Mo's Skin from Zed Press, Dear Kestrel from Knife Fork Books, and Solitude is an Acrobatic Act from Above Ground Press. His debut poetry collection, Me, You, Then Snow, is forthcoming with Gordon Hill Press. Please welcome Khashayar.
Hello, my name is Khashayar Mohammadi, aka Kramer, and I'm going to be reading 3 poems for you. The first one, Chash, is printed in Untethered. I want to thank Untethered, everyone involved, and all my fellow writers in this issue. Here's my poems. Chash. The first time I stretched out my eye, I was reading Quran for school assembly. The most convicted eye, full of aberu, my surface water, placid, crystal clear. But the poet says the tearful cloud will wash away all sins, all surface water. If all sins are washed away, then why are we ashamed only when our surface water runs? So when the beloved asks for a favor, I don't say yes. I draw from my heart with placid surface water and say chashm, a literal eye for obedience, as in on my eye, as in covering my eye, as in I obey, hoping, hopefully, as in step upon my eyelids. My eye on the outside, on my face, my ru with 2 abru. A face and 2 eyebrows, pushing the face away from bodies that attract, a rudder redirected. But this eye crowdsourced genitalia at kindergarten nap times, and a slap came from father. A lit match sunk into my hand at a dinner party lecture to not reveal my honor. A little lump of meat pendulous, the stylus that writes the binary. And when I said I to mama, I meant I liked cigarette burns. I meant I could smell the corner of the eye glance economies from when home smelled of afternoon naps and boys removed socks for prayer. The beloved churns in bed, asks for a flogger, his reminder of Christian flagella, and I say, your feet upon my eyelids, enunciate the convicted eye. Dialogue. Word came, who are you? An entangled presence, a mirror grown into a body. Word came, it has been said before. Words scramble on the page are mere scribbles. Word came, illegible. An interruption, a cough, a child's question. Word came, theater only exists without an audience. Dialogue. The main square, the Sheikh's sermon, shedding earthly possession. Word came, even his emerald ring. Walk the desert for years. No wisdom, none yet. Word came, The desert is not for wisdom, but for clout. Arrived back at the main square, salt-crusted feet, word came, life is an earthly possession. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Khashayar. Up next, we have Jade Wallace. Jade Wallace's poetry and fiction have been published in or are forthcoming internationally from This Magazine, Canadian Literature, the South Carolina Review, and the Stockholm Review. Their sophomore collaborative chapbook, Zoo, ZZOO, is forthcoming with Collusion Books in October 2020 under the moniker Made. It's 2021 now, so you can probably find that. And you can find Jade at jadewallace.ca or ma-de.ca. Please welcome Jade Wallace.
Hi everyone, I'm Jade Wallace. We are at St. Mary's Cemetery, Memento Mori, I guess. I'm going to take a little walk, and I'm going to read you a segment from Ophidia. Every hour, the woman carved from wood leaps out of the clock, singing a slur of notes, and it sounds like she is speaking. Usually the words are indistinct, but today at noon I hear one clear word for the first time. Pursue, the little woman tells me, and the snake chasing its tail around the face of the clock does loop-de-loops of agreement. Oh yes. That's a good choice for you, the cashier at the antique shop said to me when I found the cuckoo clock 3 weeks ago. Why is that? I asked. Because your time is running out, she laughed. I am not a superstitious person. Do not be fooled by the row of metaphysics texts on my bookshelf. Those are from a long time ago. The cashier was right, though. This is a strange age for a horologist. No matter how many clocks I fix, my time is still running out. If the shop owner had been on cash that day, I might have backed out of buying the clock. I've been known to do that. Instead, his unsettlingly insightful wife was the one working, and here we are. Pursue, 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 says the woman in the clock. I have been waiting for a pointing hand ever since my own wife died 2 years ago. I guess this is why people record in their bedrooms. We're going to carry on, though. So I walk right out my back door and into the forest. I am not superstitious, but I might be a bit esoteric. The correspondence of things. I can believe in that. Baby garters are emerging everywhere these past few weeks. I nearly step on one as I walk through Jonah's yard. I'll always love you, Jonah said last month, right after we broke up. 2 years, 10 years, a lifetime won't change how I feel. I had received weekly letters from him since then. Brief notes about his day with postscripts that promised he was imagining futures for us. I sent back a dozen apologetic pages once, but kept a blurred stack unsent in my desk drawer. Jonah comes out of the coop holding one of his homing pigeons and stares at me for a minute. Jonah, tall as a monument, a landmark I keep circling. He steps toward me, then looks down at the pigeon. 1 minute, he says, and goes back into the coop for a long time, finally returning empty-handed. There's a wedding today, he explains. I could come with you if you want, I say. I let that hang for a moment, but he only gives me a look of silent concern. To help with the pigeons, I offer. Why would you do that? He asks. It seems like a good excuse, I say. I don't really want to be at a wedding with you right now, he says. I can help you bathe the pigeons and you can go to the wedding alone, I say. I don't want to go to a wedding alone, he says. Then I can help you bathe the pigeons and you can take someone else to the wedding, I suggest. Why would I want to take someone else to the wedding when I'm still in love with you, he asks. Jonah, I say, very quietly, stepping forward until I am close enough for him to swallow me whole. You are being difficult. Later, Jonah has to leave in a rush with the unclean pigeons in tow. I estimate that he nearly misses the wedding. Back at home, I hunch over a tactile pocket watch that refuses to keep up with the world around it. I have already tried the usual fixes. I find myself prodding the watch's guts a little too hard and have to pause. I take off my eye loop, put down my tweezers, and remind myself that no mechanical clock is perfectly isochronous. Their timing will always be a bit off. I run my fingers over the raised numbers. Why can't you figure out how to keep moving forward? I ask.
Thank you so much for taking us on that little walk with you, Jade. All right, folks, we're down to our final reader of the evening, which is Michael Russell. Michael Russell is Mama Bear to Chapbook Grinder Opera from Frog Hollow Press. He's queer, has BPD, bipolar disorder, and way too much anxiety. His work has appeared in, or is forthcoming from, Art Poetry Magazine, Heavy Feather Review, Homology Lit, and Plenitude, among other places. He lives in Toronto and thinks you are fantabulous. You can find him at michael.russell.poet. Please welcome Michael.
I'm going to read two poems, the first of which is published in the new issue of Untethered. Warrior 2. I haven't given enough credit. Cankles which lift and carry the thick blubbered mammal of frozen history, remember. Trauma is mammoth. In 1 year I bloomed like dough, my rolls rippled and swirled. The world demands I reduce the fat, love its whipped song. I refuse to spit what happened. I wallow in its alligator swamp my belly, curves like a baseball I bat, my thigh with a hammer. Jiggle, jiggle. My worth is sewn to weight. I needle it through a swatch of skin and leek. Agave, maple, honey. Will my boyfriend hunger for this unstretched mess? Knotted tangle of smothered muscle, inflexible hamstring which pulls like dry elastic, snap of knee beneath my weight. I am a body of waste sometimes. I'm grateful for morning yoga, my practice to strike a pose warrior. I know strength in glory, sing my thick thighs, soft shoulders, all mine. Fingers that reach for light, chase the light, comb the strands of sun my feet, sing their blister and callous I might, never stand on my hands but my feet, build these calves, the fragile kneecap, rigid hip my butt, sing the fluffiest cumulus cloud my butt, amen, amen. Ode to Seroquel. Priestess of the antipsychotic, adopted sister to my family tree of medications I pray. Slow the speeding car of my brain, protect its flimsy from wreck. O gods of pharmacology, force me to swallow every prescribed enemy the gumball machine of health spits. I'd rather pluck pansies off Grindr than sleep and dream of love, running like an unleashed dog into alien arms. I floss the shred of tangerine between my teeth, massage salt into my cheeks, lather and dull the sharp blade of rigid skin with lotion, peach and apricot sugar scrub. Thank you.
Thanks so much for that, Michael. All right, folks, well, that was our last reader of the evening, so let's just give everybody who read tonight a huge round of applause. I I really want to thank all of the readers tonight for taking the time to record and share their videos with us. I also want to thank all of the 5.2 issue contributors for being very patient with me while I put together this issue in the pandemic. And a huge thank you to all of you for joining us tonight from wherever you may be. We really wouldn't exist without folks like you. I do want to give a big shout out to our issue artist, Shreya Sharuti, whose artwork is not only featured on the cover, but you can also find her artwork all throughout the issue. And I'll leave her social media links down below, as well as her website. I also wanted to give my littlest thank you out to Elena Bentley, without whom I would not have been able to put this issue together. Elena is actually coming on board to Team Untethered as our new poetry editor, and I'm so excited to keep working with her. So yay! Thank you so much, Elena. I really couldn't have done it without you. The last thing I wanted to tell you is that our submission period is currently open. So send us your poetry, fiction, nonfiction, visual art, and of course those strange beings in between before March 15th to have them be considered for our next 11th issue of volume 6.1. I'll leave our link to our submission guidelines in the video description. And finally, if you haven't already grabbed your issue or your raffle tickets, I'm going to leave the virtual launch hub live for about another hour or so that you can go and do that. And again, we'll be pulling for our raffle prizes tomorrow, February 4th at 2 p.m. on Instagram. And don't worry if you don't have Instagram, I will be emailing all of the winners to let them know that they've won and so that they can select their prizes. All right, folks, well, that's a wrap. I hope you enjoyed our first virtual launch as much as I did. If you did, you can drop us a comment down below and let us know. We'd love to hear from you. And we really do hope that you all stay safe, stay healthy, and stay untethered.